from here.
Wow. I'm thinking about how powerful that would be as an experience, but also, is it possible to have this teaching or this practice on a throughout the day kind of basis? If you're in a position of, business crises or a big decision to make, or, lost a big client, or something's happening in the, in the life, that does it work like that? So I don't have to sit down and meditate for half an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, so if you look at it this way, I think the reason why they call breathwork practice or meditation practice a practice is because it's a practice for the rest of your life, the rest of your day. So it's not something that is like you can only benefit. If you look at it through the analogy of eating food, we don't just benefit from the food that we eat while we're eating it. The idea is that we eat the food and then we benefit from that food for as long as that food is digesting through our system and we can take energy from it. And so in the same way, a meditation or breathwork practice, this is an intentional time that you set aside to do that practice, will give you benefits throughout the day and put you in a more grounded and peaceful disposition. So that's really what those practices are for, so that we can show up to every moment of every day in a grounded, peaceful disposition and be, and when I say grounded, peaceful disposition, what I'm actually referring to is not being at the unconscious being an unconscious victim of one's own fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. So when things come into our lives that are surprises, that seem to be throwing us off or creating some kind of a danger, we will automatically go into that fight, flight, or freeze response, which is a sympathetic nervous system reaction to the external environment. But if you've practiced meditation and breath work, and you have that sort of integrated into your life, those fight, flight, or freeze responses won't be as automatic. You'll be able to actually notice when something is happening that would normally derail you, which would normally upset you and cause you to go into some kind of a reaction, and you can actually stay emotionally neutral around the thing that is happening. And so I look at it as creating what I would describe as a positive neutral disposition. So you're both aware of the uncertain thing that has created the challenge, but you're also able to stay calm as you look at how to deal with that particular predicament.
Wow, that's so powerful. I feel calm just hearing about this as a possibility, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, you call yourself the Zen warrior, and your trainings and approach and leadership are built around Zen warrior. Can you tell us about that? Where it came from, how it instigated, how you use it, what it means?
Yeah. Well, I became fascinated with Zen Buddhism when I was in college, because when I read the Zen Buddhist literature, it all just made so much sense. I realized that, so Zen Buddhism basically, it's a philosophy or psychological spiritual system that emerged, thousands of years ago, starting with the Buddha 2,500 years ago. And basically, it was all about how the things that cause us suffering in our lives are due to our own attachments around immaterial things. So to whatever degree we are attaching ourselves to something that will go away, we are creating the circumstances of our own suffering. We're creating a future pattern of suffering because those things will go away. It's like if we attach ourselves to, if you think about it in terms of a parent raising a child, if that parent is so attached to that child that when that child becomes 18 years old and they move out of the house, they simply they have such a hard time dealing with the fact that that child is now on their own. They're going to be creating their own internal suffering. And they're also going to be preventing that child from being able to take off in their own lives, because that cord needs to be broken. That child needs to feel as though they can be completely independent. And while they want to have the emotional support of their parent, obviously, what is going to prevent them from feeling that emotional support is if there's any attachment that the parent has to them, or if they have any attachment to the parent. So that's a good example of where attachment can create suffering. But this happens all over the place. If you think about it, people become attached to the amount of money that they have in their bank account. People have become attached to a job position. They become attached to the type of car they drive, all kinds of things. And when those things go away, I know that you've probably talked about this a lot on your show. You lost your home in Tortola. Is that where it was?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So you had to let go of your attachment to your home because your home it turned out it was an impermanent home. And
had to let go of the attachment to drinking water and power.
You had to let go of the attachment to drinking water and power. Yeah. So all of these things that we assume are going to be permanent actually aren't permanent. And to the degree to which we have set ourselves up for that thing being permanent is the degree to which we are creating our own suffering. And so this became really, when I was in college, I was very into this because I understood it philosophically. It made sense. I could really get it. And I thought, holy cow, this really is playing out all over our society. People are getting attached to things and ideas and people, and those attachments are creating their own challenges. But it wasn't until I had my spinal cord injury and I had to let go of the attachment to my whole lower body. It was like, that was the real deal training ground for me. And so by doing so, as challenging as it was, it did give me a much deeper appreciation for how we can adapt, how we actually have the neuroplasticity to be able to adapt to any circumstance as it comes up and not lose what's really important, which is our essential self. And if we can do that consistently in our work and in our lives and in our personal lives, if we can do that, if we can live from that space and take on the battles of life from that perspective, that's what I see as that Zen warrior archetype. It's being a peaceful warrior. It's being someone who is centered and calm and has a peaceful disposition and is able to take on the challenges of life from that disposition.
Wow, that is so beautiful, Sam. And you are such a tremendous, inspiring embodiment of a Zen warrior. And I'm always so inspired by you. And today you've given us so much value and such a gift. And so please tell our audience, let us know, how can we find you? How can we engage with you?
Oh, thank you. Well, you could follow me on Instagram at Zen Warrior Training, or I'm on LinkedIn, Zen Warrior Training on LinkedIn. My website is Zen Warrior Training. I'm beginning to actually transition sort of away from the Zen Warrior brand to Sam Morris for just personal reasons. It just feels sort of more aligned to make it about my name versus that Zen Warrior archetype. But for now, you can find me on Instagram at Zen Warrior Training, and the same on LinkedIn and Facebook, and my website, obviously.
Fantastic. Well, we are going to find you there until you tell us not to. There's someplace new. But honestly, I'm so grateful for you being here today. It's such a powerful and inspiring story. And thank you so much. People, reach out. The show notes will have Sam's contact information. And thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much, Christine. I really admire you so much. Thank you so much.